Hello. Hi. How's it going? Day 2. Still raining. Am I right? What? Okay. We're inside. Hi, I'm Henry Gordon Smith, founder and CEO of Agritecture, and it's a pleasure to be here today to moderate some sessions on the Vision stage. We're really excited you're here. We also want you to try out our new feature, which is called Event Ace. And so if you scan this QR code, you can actually see the slides, take notes, get closed captioning, and you can actually ask questions that will then be deployed later on for the panel. Now, today's panel is going to be all about how technology can unlock more efficiency, more automation in greenhouses. We're going to be hearing from the CEO of Source.ag, who I got to actually interview last year. Really, really interesting company using AI. And then we also have one of their growers who's going to be speaking about their experience in reality. So let's invite our panelists to the stage. Round of applause, please.
Morning.
Yeah, good.
Oh, thank you. How are you?
Good, how are you? Good to see you again.
See you.
Hi, how's it going?
Getty?
So let's just start with some introductions. Do you mind going first?
Okay, my name is Arco Vreugdenhil and I'm from the Rainbow Growers Group. I'm in our company, I'm the CFO, responsible for finance and for energy. In our company we grow peppers, bell peppers and sweet point peppers. And we started our company in 2007. And at this moment we grow peppers at 8 different locations in the Netherlands and total 120 hectares.
120 hectares, 8 different greenhouses across the Netherlands. All the same kinds of peppers or some different kinds?
No, bell peppers, the blocky type and the sweet point peppers.
Okay, awesome. And what's the irrigation or production method you're using for the peppers?
Just the normal method.
What's the normal method for our audience?
We grow on rock wool, and we have a season of 1 year. So we start planting in December, then we start harvesting in March, and then we harvest every week till the end of October, and then we clean all the company, and it starts over again.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you for that introduction and welcome.
Okay.
Could you give an introduction, please?
Sure. Yeah. My name is Rien Kamman. I'm one of the 2 co-founders of Source, the CEO of the company. Source does 3 things. We build software and AI, so no hardware or sensors. And we help growers to digitize, so to make it easier to have data on what's actually happening in your operation, both on the biology side, the plant growth, and what's happening to the plant, so the environment and climate. We simulate the future, so we help to see what's coming, for growers to anticipate yield, anticipate how different in environment will impact their results. And then finally, we help with automation. So for instance, autonomous control of systems in the greenhouse. We've been doing that now for 3.5 years. We grew to now over 100 people. We're about 110 developers in Amsterdam. I think what is a fun fact that Arco didn't mention yet is Arco was the first person that gave two idiots a chance. Me being one of the idiots. Sorry, Ernst, I know you're in the audience. You're the other idiot. Yeah.
Yes.
Because we had 0 experience in this field. And
in agriculture, no experience.
No.
But you're Dutch.
Yeah, true. And I lived very close by greenhouses, but I never visited them before 4 years ago. And Arco was one of the first persons that sort of gave us a chance. And it was actually one of your greenhouses that I think was the first one I was ever in 4.5 years ago.
How did you meet, though? How did that even happen?
I think we meet because I'm in the advisory board of a construction company of greenhouses, and they know Rien. I don't know how you contact them, but they said to me, we have seen 2 smart guys and they want to start to build an AI company for greenhouses, and do you want to speak to them? And we speak to them, and I think they have some brilliant ideas, and let's do it.
And so, I mean, you must get all kinds of ideas coming to you as a big grower all the time. What compelled you this time to say, yeah, I'll give a try to this guy that knows nothing about agriculture and is selling me on AI? I think we all want the secret of how to break in with greenhouse growers. So, like, what did he say? What was his magic words?
I think it's just it was a feeling. They know exactly how AI worked in other sectors. They have done a lot of projects before in other things, so they know exactly how to build AI. And we grow peppers for 25 years, so we have the experience to do that. So I think the combination of the AI specialists with the grower specialists, that was for me, I think, the main thing to do it.
So Rien, on the AI side, so did you build it as an AI company for agriculture from the beginning, or was it applied to other sectors first?
Me and my co-founder, we build these kinds of systems, so where you collect all relevant data in one place, and then you build support systems for the people that are in charge. We build it for oil and gas, for steel, for airlines, and we saw what it took to build real-world AI. So what I mean with real-world AI is AI that actually does something in the physical world, in the real world. But we also saw it was always a steel company, an airline, and at some point that kind of frustrated us because we wanted to apply this technology to an industry that matters. And food production is one of the cornerstones of our society, especially fresh fruit and vegetables. So we thought, okay, we'll quit and we'll build this ourselves for agriculture. And I'll be honest, like now it sounds like, oh, we ran into Arco and I was like, okay, let's go. But this took like a year.
Yeah.
A year of our savings, we had a mortgage, it was quite stressful. And I think you're right, like a lot of growers get approached a lot with ideas. That also made it hard for us because the first time we met, they were like, another one of those data science ideas. So I'm not sure when it clicked, but it took probably a good 6-7 months of like coming back, explaining what we did for an airline, an oil company, and then at some point, I don't know, somewhere they said, okay, show us, right? Like I think that's, to their credit, no grower says, okay, I trust you, finally do it, but they do give you a chance.
Yeah.
But then you have to prove yourself.
Yeah, I want to get into that journey a little bit more, but first I want to hear about how you built your company to be able to work with farmers, because you mentioned 110 developers, but how many people on your team are growers or agronomists or agricultural engineers? How many of them actually understand plant science, plant physiology? Farm operations? Anyone, or do you depend completely on your grower customers for that information?
No, that's an excellent question. That's a really good
Thank
question.
you.
This early in the morning. Excellent question. So a couple of things. One, yes, we do employ plant scientists. So we have about a team of 5-6 plant scientists from Wageningen and places like that. But we also really expect everyone at Source to understand the fundamentals of plant science and biology. So we have a very in-depth onboarding. Even if you're not developing software, you should understand how the basics of growing work. And then we have a lot of people that spend a lot of time with our partners. So the best way to really understand what needs to be built is to listen. We're not growers, but we're really good at listening, understanding what is the real issue underneath, and then going back and building a solution. But you cannot build this in your attic or your garage. You just can't. So the core thing that we needed to get is trust. Trust for someone to give us a chance, to give feedback, to be critical, what works and what not. And so I think that's the magic, this sort of overlap between tech talent and growing talent, working together to build this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited to hear about that more. And so you guys met, there was sort of chemistry, then what did you start testing in the greenhouse? What was the first sort of intervention and pilot that you worked on together on your pepper greenhouse?
In the beginning, they just start to help working in the greenhouse. They want to do all the activities that the growers and also the labor workers
they just joined and started
and
harvesting with you?
And harvesting and doing...
Just to listen. This is the listening stage. So you just watch the growers and you work next to them.
Cut in our
How
fingers.
many of them came to the greenhouse and just started working in it?
No, I think you and Ernst.
Yeah.
I think you are only the two of them.
Yeah, we harvested
two founders
peppers.
They two founders came.
For
and
a
they
day or for like...
No, for a couple of weeks.
Really?
Yes, really
Okay.
understand.
And what were you looking for during that time?
really to absorb, just to understand what is the day-to-day work, what are things that are easy, where is frustration, where is opportunity. Like, you cannot build software in this space if you don't have a real in-depth understanding of how does the biology work and how does that fit into day-to-day work
the
of the
operations.
grower.
So what did you notice?
What we noticed is that there's much more decision making every day by growers than I think people realize.
Like on the spot, they see something, have to react, and
100%, yeah. So the grower, I think, constantly sort of observes what's going on in my greenhouse. What signals do I get from the plant and the weather, and then what should I now do? How should I change my irrigation or my pruning strategy or my labor scheduling, or do I think a little bit more yield is coming up in a few weeks? What should I do on the commercial side? And so a grower every day is optimizing, in my view, 60, 70 things in his head, day by day by day. And to Arco's point, right, if you grow 40, 50 weeks and you have to make 100 decisions a day, that's more options than there are atoms in the universe. That's crazy. Like, this is really a craft. So when we started, before I set food in a greenhouse, if I'm very honest, I thought, how hard can it be? You put a seed in the ground, you wait, you get some peppers and tomatoes, you pick them, you sell them. How hard can it be? But then when you actually join, you go like, holy moly, this is the toughest thing I've ever seen. It was tougher than oil and gas and airlines by far. And the only way to really understand it is if you join.
okay, so I mean, the Dutch are the most sophisticated, technology-advanced growers in the world. When I go to a Dutch greenhouse, I already see screens that tell me where every plant is. There's sometimes cameras. I mean, what about the technology that you already saw in action there? What are the flaws and opportunities you saw related to the technologies that most greenhouses are already using?
Yeah. I can comment, and I'm curious how you see it. So when we started, we saw two gaps. The first is there are a lot of sensors already in the greenhouse. There's a lot of hardware. And the first gap is data in itself does not mean insight. Data in itself is not per se actionable. And if you have to make 100 decisions every day, then what a grower needs is a system to translate all of that raw data into this is what you need to look at. This is important for the success of your season. So there was one gap which we built together, which is called Source.ag, which takes all of that raw data and helps growers focus on the 1, 2, 3 things that really matter today. And the other
takes all the data they're capturing from their existing technology
sensors,
and measurement,
yes, like the
and it
pre-var,
basically says these are the most important things to look at today.
Yeah, I'll give you one example. Like in peppers, in the morning you open the screen, so the energy screen, and then cold air drops down on the plant. That's unavoidable. But you don't want that drop in temperature to be more than like a degree centigrade. Because if it's more, that's kind of bad for the growth of the plant. If you want to get that from raw data, you need to look like, okay, when did the screen open? And then you need to look in another system, like what was the temperature drop? So what we do with our system is we calculate this for the grower. And we show them the trend day by day by day. What was the temperature drop when the screen opened in the morning? So, and if it's off from perfect, the grower knows, tomorrow I need to fix this. So that's one gap, just providing insight. And the other gap is, there is a lot of data on what the plant experiences, climate, irrigation, but never has there been enough high quality data on the plant growth itself. And there's a ton of innovation, which I'm very happy about, cameras and sensors, but there simply wasn't a consistent, uniform, granular way to measure how does the plant grow over time. And that's what we solved together with the iPad app, which is a deceptively simple but under the hood very hard product that enables growers to track the development of plant over time. So those were the two big gaps, data on the plant and insight into what.
And so Arco, you then tried this iPad app or the Source.ag app, and tell us about your initial experiences with it in the very early days, the first times that he went from listening to using AI to tell you what to do.
Yes. The Source developed some different products. So the first thing where we start with was the Source track. And with Source track, it's very good, very easy to compare information of different greenhouses. And because we have 8 locations and maybe 15 greenhouses with 15 growers, it's very important to understand, to detect all the differences between all the greenhouses, the information, and we want to know what the differences are, and so the growers can learn from each other and see if something is not good, that he can change it, and so he can learn from.
So
they
tell
can
me
learn
more
from
what that
each
looks
other.
like. So you're looking at all the greenhouses and the differences
No,
in
the
growers are
the
looking
growers
at.
they compare with
They
each other.
compare,
They
and
compare.
do they communicate to like how do they talk?
Yes.
Like what do they talk about when they're talking about what that data looks like?
No,
They say-
when they have a meeting of growers,
Okay,
then
they have more
they put
information.
all the information, the graphs on the screen, and they discuss the differences. And it's very because the graphs, it's very easy to compare different things.
Still sounds like data and analytics to me. Where's the AI here?
Yeah, there's none. In what I just told you, there's none.
Yeah. Okay. So what happened next?
Yeah. So data analytics is the foundation of AI. Or actually, data is the foundation of AI. So there's a lot of buzz around AI, but those are the sort of the Ferraris that everybody wants, like yield prediction, autonomous, whatever. But without good fuel, you cannot drive a Ferrari. And that's why we invested a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of effort in getting this data platform right. Because if you want to build AI, and to Arco's point, and you have 8 locations, if you measure head thickness in one place or settings in one place, they need to be the same in all the locations. And not within one company, but across all companies that work with Source. So this has been part of our focus, is building the data platform. So what happens next, right? 3 months ago, or 2 years ago, we launched app and the track. That in itself actually had quite some impact. We have a grower that says, look, it took me 2 years to train junior growers. I've now cut that in half. I can now train junior growers in 1 year instead of 2.
That's a huge savings.
We had a head grower, so Arco mentioned different growers. Typically, there's a head grower above. He said, I spend 3 hours a week doing Excel analysis, bringing it together. It now takes me 5 minutes. That's a 10% time saving for the head grower, who's the most scarce resource. And then we had a Polish grower that says, I've had my best season in 20 years. Not because of AI, but just because he could spot issues early on and adjust. And with that grower, I think it also shows a little bit sort of the generational difference. So his father actually said, why do we need Source? We've had a great year. We're doing great. And then the junior said, yeah, because of Source. Right? So you see these generational differences where digitization in itself already helps prevent mistakes and gives better results.
Yeah.
But to your point, right, why have we done this? Also because it lays the foundation for the real game changers in this industry. And in our view, there are 2. One is autonomous control of certain tasks. A grower has to do 100 things every day. A few of them are irrigation related, so making sure that you hit the exact right irrigation target every day. 3 months ago, we launched Source Irrigation Control that connects with Priva and Hogendoorn and Ritter and autonomously controls the irrigation. So you have a perfect irrigation every day. And then yesterday, we launched Source Cultivate. That really is about yield prediction. So giving the grower, in this case we started with tomato, much more reliable and accurate information on how much volume, how much production can I expect specifically 3 to 4 weeks from now. And why do we do that? It is relatively easy. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's relatively easy to say what will be the yield 1.5 weeks from now. Because you can see the tomatoes start to color. That's a signal. But the 3 to 4 week window, that's when you do your sales. That's when you have negotiations with wholesalers and retailers. If you're off, if you get much more production than you expected a week in advance, you cannot sell it anymore. If you don't have enough, you're shorting people. So we build a system that is really focused on giving much more reliable information 3 to 4 weeks in advance. So growers and commercial teams have more time to adjust planning, labor planning, logistics, purchasing, and negotiations with the aim to further boost their results. So now we can really sort of start to see all those investments in creating better data to pay off, tenfold, because we can use that data to solve the real pain points in this industry.
Right, reduce waste and actually sell at the right time at the right price.
That's
so that's Source Cultivate, which just launched.
Yes, that's right.
Now, Arco, greenhouses have been through a number of challenges, whether it's from labor, supply chain issues, COVID, energy crisis, consumer shifts in preferences. What do you see in the next 5 to 10 years that you're worried about or excited about when it comes to your business of growing?
I think the biggest challenge in in growing and cultivation, I think it's the cultivation process. Um, when I look at our company, we started in 2007, and until now we have a lot of challenges about energy crisis, years of low pepper prices, diseases, viruses. But at the end, I think the cultivation process is it's the most challenging, and it's because we are growing a living product, and the season of peppers it's taking a whole year, and if you have to be 365 days a year and 24 hours a day, you have to be sharp and do not make any mistakes. Um, Otherwise, when you make a mistake, it has huge impact on on your production and also on the financial
And all the
impact on
work you
your.
put in to get there, yeah.
And then you have nothing. And I think to to have control on that cultivation process, I think it's the most important thing. What I've seen in the last 15, 16 years. I think what's very important for that, I think to have control on that cultivation process is, I think you have to find good growers, you have to train them, and you have to retain them. And it's also very important that you have in the cultivation process, you build in good controls, that you can detect small problems, small errors, and solve the problems very fast. And I think what will be for the coming 5 to 10 years, what will be the challenges? I think the cultivation process will be more and more challenging for the next 5 to 10 years, and it has some reasons. I think the labor, it will be more scarce. You have to find. It's difficult to find good growers, and I think when you have less growers, the growers you have, they have to manage more
More work,
hectares
yeah.
per person, so it's more difficult. And I also think that requirements on sustainability will also will be also more difficult the coming years, because we have to grow with less availability of fossil energy. We have less availability of CO2 into the greenhouse, which we need for the growing. We have less availability of water, and also we have to recirculate the water 100%. And we have also less availability on crop protection products for diseases. And I think when you have less resources for the cultivation process, but the grower must reach the same results the coming years, or maybe even better, that's the most challenging thing, I think. And I think for that, good technology in decision making, I think it's essential for the future.
Right. So no wonder you have such an incentive to engage with Source and to try this out.
That's the
because
reason.
you're trying to get ahead. You see these problems on the horizon,
Yes.
trying to get ahead of it. So we've been quite positive here about AI and technology integration. Not saying it was easy, but tell us about some of the challenges of actually integrating this technology with the grower, working with the grower, making it fit with other technologies. What are the difficulties it's been to deploy this across? I think you have over 100 customers now. Is that right?
Yeah, we have about 300 facilities, 300 greenhouses, about approaching 2,000 hectares of high-tech greenhouses.
That's awesome.
15 countries. There's been a ton of challenges. I will highlight two. One is technical. So when we set off to start Source, we already said, okay, we are going to solve the yield prediction problem. And in our initial planning, that should have taken us 18 months. We're now 3.5 years further, and we launched it yesterday. We have completely underestimated how hard this was, 100%. So we thought you can do yield prediction sort of generically for tomatoes, for pepper. What we found out is we had to go extremely deep in the biology. So our system is tailored on the genetics level, so seed variety by seed variety. We even see that, for instance, it's an Enza seed, Anico, which is a tomato variety. It reacts differently than the new Anico Cove, which is the virus-resistant version of it. While on paper it looks the same, but it just reacts differently. It has different reactions to temperature, how long it takes to ripen. So we found out we had to go very deep on the biology side to build something on yield prediction that's robust. And so that's, I think, also why nobody's cracked it before, because you do need 110 very talented people working on this for 3 years with some of the best growers to get there. So that's one. I think the other one is more on the adoption side. So what's happening, right? You have growers that have been doing this for 10, 15, 20, 30 years. They have 30 seasons in their whole career, and you're asking them to put trust in a new system. And this has been, if I'm very honest, tough, because what if it doesn't work? Or what is this different than they expected? And this has for sure had some tough discussions now and again. It's also caused some friction, for sure. And I think that's good. But I think we now also crossed the point where if you keep listening to their feedback, their worries, and you show you actually do something with it, then that creates trust. And I think we can be pretty honest. Like, Arco's company was one of the first one that started using autonomous control a few months ago. Was it perfect from day one? No. Things didn't work. Things were different than they expected. If you launch a product, it's never 100% complete. But what matters is, we had tough discussions like, hey, we had expected this and it doesn't work. But how do you create trust? You say, okay, we'll turn around, we'll fix it, we'll be back 2 weeks later. And if you keep that dialogue going, then at some point, I think you create trust. You should comment on it, but I think in the last couple of months, this is exactly the loop we've gone through.
Yeah, I think he agrees. Can I ask you a tough question, though?
Shoot.
Of all the greenhouse growers that have tried your technology, sort of in this stage of, hey, let's try, let's work together, how many of them have rejected it and decided not to proceed with being a customer?
In the sales process, for sure, quite a few. Yeah, it's not like we have 100% conversion on everybody we talk to. Churn, almost none. So once people start using it, we've had, I think, less than 1% churn, which is very good for a software company. Yeah. But I do understand. So if you zoom out, for the last 2 years, what we had on offer.
It's scary for them. There's the generational, there's a lot of reasons why this could happen. I'm just curious about the adoption
100%.
rate.
Yeah, so we've seen quite some growers that either said, I don't know, I first want to see this work and sort of listen to look, in every technology market, you have early adopters and you have late adopters and a mid-segment. So we are very dependent initially on early adopters and innovators like Arco's company that give you a chance. And then with those companies, we prove that it works. We show the proof points. And that takes time. And some jump on the bandwagon earlier than later. But for sure, we see a big shift. But the fact that now 2,000 hectares across 15 countries are using it, I think sort of shows that we've hit that.
Congratulations. You've grown a lot since last year when we even spoke. So that's very exciting. Well, we have some time for audience questions. Just raise your hand and let me know if you have a burning question about AI, peppers, the future of this technology, Source.ag. Please let us know. Yes, could you please come to the front and introduce yourself?
Yes, hello, my name is Arvid. I'm just a greenhouse enthusiast looking into the field. There's really not much else to it. I'm basically you 4 years ago, especially your story.
So you'll be gray in 4 years.
Well, it's not easy. Right? So I'm curious about the prediction you can do on the growth of the plants with respect to the different quality standards you can have of a single crop. So I had the chance to speak to a friend of mine who runs a greenhouse in Finland. They grow cucumbers. And they come in all different standards that they can sell at different prices depending on what the final product looks like, right? Is this something that Source also optimizes for the grower? Like you're going to get 50% Class B cucumbers and 20% Ds or those, for example?
That's a great question. That's a really good question. All right, so if we go to some of the fundamentals on how we predict yields, we actually don't use what you would call black box machine learning, where we take historic data and we use that to find correlations to say you'll get that many kilograms in 3 weeks. That's not what we do. We apply a sort of hybrid approach of plant science and AI. So what do I mean with this? There are quite some known causal relations in plant growth. So as an example, and I'm simplifying a bit, temperature really determines the speed at which a fruit ripens. So is it 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 7 weeks? So that's mainly driven by temperature, ripening. And then the size or the weight of when it is ripe is much more driven by photosynthesis. So the creation of assimilates, sugar packages, and how they are allocated to each individual tomato. So what we do is we follow each fruit, from the moment it turns into a flower, it emerges to a little setting, like a little marble tomato, and then it takes roughly 8 weeks, but with a variation, before it's ripe. And so we follow each fruit over its lifetime, day by day by day. And that means if it is sort of 5 weeks old, there's roughly 3 more weeks to go before it gets harvested. We have a lot of information on that fruit that will be harvested 3 weeks from now. So what we can do then is simulate the next 3 weeks and assess what is the expected fruit weight, which tells you something about, indeed, the retail specs, what is the ripening speed that's left. So where we are now is that we only do this for tomatoes, but we can assess, what's the spec in terms of size and weight. What we want to go to is to, at some point, we're not there yet, do more on quality. What's expected bricks, what's expected nutritional value, what's the amount of different classes that you see. But the first version is already giving a lot of confidence in that. So how many fruits and what is their size? And from there we can expand, right? Just like an app on your iPhone is never done, so that's also on our roadmap.
Who else has a great question? Yes.
Harry Smeets, Growers United. Rien, a question. You say your yield prediction module is genetic depending. How many data, how many crops you need before you can make a prediction for a new variety?
Yeah, I'm afraid now to say another great question, but it is.
Choose a different adjective.
It is a good question. It depends. So the more data, the better it gets, for sure. How we've built our models is we have what we call base models. So is it a cherry tomato, tomato on the vine, a beefsteak, which is sort of an amalgamation of all the varieties in that class. So let's say there's a seed variety that we've never seen before, ever. No grower has ever grown it. Then what we would do is we say to the grower, okay, first we use this base model, and we know it's not super accurate, but 8 weeks later, we have calibrated it to that new seed variety because we track it over the lifetime. So if we don't have any data, we expect between, let's say, 8 and 12 weeks of data before we have calibrated it to that new seed. But how we actually solve this is we are working also with seed companies on their pre-commercial seeds in their demos or their trials to already understand seed varieties that are yet to come to market, to decode them already. So you can almost view it like if you have a catalog of seeds that are commercially available, we're creating a catalog of, let's say, the decoded algorithm for each seed, and we're building up this database for all the seeds. So now, with the data that we already have available, I think we can cover 80-90% of the seeds that are out there already. And with the new ones coming in, we either calibrate them mid-season, or we work with whomever is providing them to calibrate them before they hit the market.
Let's take one last question. Пожалуйста.
Hello, B-Farms, Qatar. I was just curious. I believe that most of the greenhouses where your software is being applied is based here in Europe. So if you take the same software and use it somewhere in the Gulf region, let's say, with the harsh climate conditions, will it still be the same precise as here, or it's a new process where you need to also collect the same amount of data that you collected here to make these predictions and to make your software useful?
Yeah. So the question was, how applicable is it in a completely new climate? Those two things are very correlated indeed, right? Because you need to understand both how does the seed variety react to different stimuli, but then to understand the range of potential stimuli, it helps if you've also seen a lot of climate regions. So we're now active in 15 countries, from Canada to the US, but also Mexico, Tunisia, Morocco, so in some very harsh climates with much more radiation already. So that gives us a pretty broad range of climate exposure to these seeds. And the reason why we've not chosen to do a pure black box machine learning is to avoid that issue. Because if you do pure black box, you say, okay, I have historic data, and I'm going to predict how the seed will react in the future. But if the seed is grown in a location where you have no historic data, then it becomes very tricky, because you've never seen it. But because we build up our system as a simulation, not a prediction, but a simulation where we decoded the plant into all its subcomponents, photosynthesis, creation of assimilate sugar packages, how it's partitioned. You create like a digital twin of a specific seed variety, and then we apply a climate to that seed to see how it works. So an analogy is from, for instance, Formula One. Right? They have an expensive car. They might be thinking about changing the spoiler, but what they do not do is build it and run laps. It's way too expensive. Just like a grower should not, if he has an idea of a seed strategy, do it for a season and see if it works. It's way too expensive and risky. So what do they do in Formula One? They have a virtual representation of the car in a computer, right, a simulation. They try different designs, and then they simulate airflow to see if it's a good idea or not. In essence, this is what also we do. So we have a virtual representation of the specific seed. We apply different crop strategies to see how it will react. And if it's a good one, then you can use that in whatever location you are. And almost as a side effect, we know, okay, but how many harvestable tomatoes will there be 3 weeks from now? And that process we can do every day. Right? We can every day re-simulate. We have new information on weather, new information on pruning strategy, on prices. So every day you can do that simulation to assess what the future will hold. So that's how we're solving the issue of what do you do with an unknown seed or an unknown climate region. Yeah, you cannot say, oh, you have to have 2 years of data and then we can help you. There's no time. New seeds are coming to market, so we need to find a way that solves that. And I believe we have found that with the system that we've built.
Awesome. Arco, let's look to the future. What does your business look like in 2030?
I think in the industry, all companies, the consolidation it's increasing. It will continue. So companies will become bigger and bigger. For our company, I expect that in the coming 5 years, we will double in size to 250 hectares, I think. And I also think because of the scarcity of labor, I think we need to robotize some processes in our company. Especially the harvesting of peppers, it needs a lot of work. And I think we need to robotize that process, the harvesting.
Awesome. Well, I wish you the best with that massive expansion. And what about you, Rien? 5 years from now, what does Source.ag do?
5 years from now, I'm going to shoot for 1 million hectares.
That's it? 1 million hectares?
1 million hectares.
That's awesome.
I'll cut it in two. So we're ambitious.
It just like sort of ended. I was like, wait.
I can't leave it hanging there, right? So why 1 million? It won't be just high-tech greenhouses. There won't be 1 million high-tech greenhouses.
You want to go more to the low-tech?
Exactly. So our core focus now is and will remain companies like Arco that are ambitious, that want to double, but even companies that might not want to scale, right? My vision is that if you have a high-tech greenhouse, you want to have more sensors, you want to have more robotics, you want to be able to grow more hectares with less people. That should be frictionless. It should not be annoying, and it should be frictionless. We want to be that base platform where everything can be connected, and it can already, so that companies like Arco can think about growing and scaling and not Excel sheets and emails and integrations. We'll take care of that. But we want to move from high-tech to mid-tech to low-tech next. And so we're already doing pilots in Mexico and in Morocco with mid-tech and low-tech growers. In terms of impact, it is massive, right? We can save water, we can save chemical usage, we can increase yield. And there's increasing collaboration between companies like Harvest House or Arco's company or tomato growers with these sort of mid-tech growers in the periphery of Europe or in the US. So that's next for us.
And Rien, tell the audience where your booth is so they can go learn more about your technology.
Our booth is over there.
It's over there, guys. Ladies and gentlemen,
just find
over
someone
there.
with these things on. We're somewhere over there.
What's your booth number?
I don't know.
Does the other idiot know?
1502?
You called him that.
545-01545.
Okay, there you go. Hall 1, 545. Go check it out. Thank you so much. Let's have a round of applause for Arco and Rien. Thanks so much, you guys.
Thank you.
Should we take a photo? Is there anyone from your team that wants to get a photo? Anyone from your team that wants to take a photo? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
See you later, guys. We'll be right back for the next session. Just hang tight.